Well then, that was kind of weird. We're a bit late today, but we do have Kizzy Pog, and we have Mizuki Pog. Oh, of course they don't show up on mobile, but they do show up on Twitch. They're just the standard BTTV. Kizzy Pog, Mizuki Pog, lowercase, capital P, just like Zen Pog. Well, let's get... Oops. Twitch was being kind of weird when I was starting, so that's why we're kind of all wacky today. But Seabed. I spent a little bit trying to figure out what new seabed adjacent synonym I could come up with, and I decided on riverberth. I've already done ocean cot. I'm gonna run out of bodies of water pretty soon. Let's get the glasses on because we're reading. And I feel like I haven't done that before. I used to do it. And speaking of reading, I actually, doing a commission in Genshin, I realized that there are some books I still haven't read in that game, so maybe we'll do a reading stream. We might do that. That might be... I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll just like read and do chill stuff on Monday. But I think art stream is still going to be the thing to go for now. Anyway. Let's load clinic year-end plans. Excuse me. The last time we were here, what's her face decided, what's her name? They're gonna say it and I'm gonna forget. What's her face went to Narasaki's and got a checkup. And so that was a thing. And we didn't really get any more CGs afterwards. And we found out that Sachiko, or whatever her name is, no, Sachiko's the main character. Takiko has disappeared. And we don't know why, but she disappeared. And I'll go to this picture. According to other people, Inokai does not know who Takiko is. I think that's her name. Rika, that's not her name, does know who Takiko is. And so that means that Takiko has disappeared somewhere between 1 year and 2 years ago, and we don't know when. So, it's a big mystery. And we haven't even filled out our first page of CGs. Not yet. Anyway. Let's load clinic year-end plans. Yeah, Sachiko. Okay. Yeah, Sachiko and Takiko. One of these days I'll remember their names. 2 days later, I ended up finishing my work early, so I told Fumi the others, that was her name, Fumi. I had a little errand to run and went straight to the clinic. Upon telling Narasaki about it, she asked me if everything was okay with work, adding that it must be a hassle to jump through all those loops. Oops. There we go, just adjust my chair. I can't exactly tell everyone that I'm leaving early because I suspect I'm going mad and have to have my head checked. Well, I understand your circumstances. It's pretty common in this field. I'd also prefer to keep this from our regular clients. I thought I had a hiccup going, didn't come. I just don't know who's talking. I guess this is Sachiko. Have I not told you before? That's why I wanted to discuss this with you in private. Really? I looked at Narasaki's desk. It had a bundle of medical records on it. Beyond that, on the wall, I spotted a green board with some memos, a couple of landscape pictures, and a small calendar pinned to it. The calendar had a picture of a turbulent-looking sea on it. I wonder if it'd make a comfortable bed. It seemed easy to hiccup in. The entire scenery was dominated by the color blue. Even the cliffs in the distance seemed somewhat affected, resembling massive icebergs. Some might say it was a deep indigo. The days below the pictures were circled. They had all sorts of errands and what were most likely appointments written around them. Did you find something interesting? Narasaki addressed me while jotting something down to my my medical record. Yeah, I was wondering, how long have you been working here? I'm approaching my 3rd year as a practicing physician. Before that, I worked at a different clinic. I considered her white coat, trying to imagine her usual day here. Which one of your past patients left the biggest impression? Narasaki seemed to freeze for a moment. She then answered that there were many, seemingly trying to avoid the subject. Isn't that like a HIPAA violation? Realizing that it was probably a thoughtless question, I decided not to prod any further. I shifted my gaze from Narasaki and looked around the consultation room. All kinds of bottles with English labels lined the medicine shelf, neatly locked behind its glass door. You know, it's really something, games like these, where I have nothing to do but read, that I really think about how I'm pronouncing words and how I'm enunciating things. I like, really just like think about, oh, how are you moving your mouth, Neon? What does that look like? I absent-mindedly gazed at the graded beaker. I realized that it went out of focus, with all the little blue lines blurring it together. I rubbed my right eye, then I rubbed my left eye, then I rubbed my right eye again, then I rubbed my left eye. Then I thought maybe I had pink eye. I should probably see a doctor. You seem tired. I pulled a late shift yesterday. Yawn. I returned my gaze to Narasaki. Or Narasaki. She slightly turned her chair toward me. Are you getting enough sleep lately? I know that Genshin announcement video is really cool, but... Oh, hold on. Thank you, Stream Elements. I do have to turn that off. The content advisory warning does not apply to Seabed. Work's a bit frantic these days. I'm handling twice my usual workload. That's not good. It seems you're forgetting things as well, like how this game does not have content that some viewers may find disturbing. Or, I guess maybe it does. I guess that's entirely subjective. I know. The brunt of work is already finished. Also, what were you saying? All that's left is to organize everything. So, you're saying the worst part is already over? Yes. Well, be careful. A vacation does little good if you only end up ruining your health through overworking. I know that. Do you have any plans to go somewhere? Not really. I see. Naruhodo. Narasaki took a breath and spun her pen around the thumb of her right hand. I felt as though I'd heard a cat meowing in the distance. I strained my ears, only to hear another clear meow from the direction of the small window. I imagine it's walking along the fence behind the building. I see them there sometimes. Narasaki fell silent as I stared at the window. Stare. We remained completely silent, but no other meows followed. The window itself is similar to the kind that tend to be in bathrooms. When I thought about it, its room suddenly started feeling very small. You usually have people in this room that tend to say some off-kilter things, right? Right. Narasaki looked behind her, allowing her gaze to travel across the entire room before it finally stopped on me again. It's pretty small, isn't it? Oh. It's pretty small, isn't it? Lately, I've heard how other doctors try to make their consultation rooms look as spacious as possible and use brightly colored wallpapers to lessen the stress of their patients. It doesn't seem like you're doing that. I don't have the funds. Besides, this place is small, but it feels kinda isolated from the rest of the building, right? I feel it might help some patients to relax and talk instead. I think I like it this way too. Glad to hear that. Narasaki made a satisfied smile. Did you take those pictures? No, I just stuck a bunch of photos that I liked. That's the Blue Grotto. Oh? I didn't even know that. You seem well informed. I've been to it. We went to all sorts of places with Takako. Okay, Takako. That makes more sense. I was like, there's no way there's two eyes. Takako and Sachiko. Such as... That seemed to pique Narasaki's interest. It felt more and more like I was chatting with a friend at a cafe, rather than having an actual medical examination, or anything of the sort. Narasaki kept asking questions about my past, from my club activities at school to all the trips I'd had over the years. I told her everything I could remember, trying to be as brief and on point as possible. Narasaki wrote everything down, her white coat swaying as her hand danced across the pages of the white paper. She would also jot down some notes to my medical record once in a while. When I told Narasaki about how Takako found a printing error on a winning candy stick, and the woman selling them had to fix it with a marker, she once again added a note to my medical record. After hearing a brief sigh, I took a sip of coffee to have a break from all the talking. Any new problems since our last appointment? Sachiko may get a break in talking, but you don't, Neon. I told her about how I saw Takako at the office after discussing vacation plans with Fumi. Narasaki wrote something down in my medical record again. Squeezed under it, I saw a medical examination paper with all sorts of numbers printed out on it. One of them was 11037. It looked like it could have been my blood test, but I'm not sure. Aren't those the results of my previous examination? Narasaki followed my gaze and, spotting the paper, gave me a nod. Did you find anything out? I wanted to know if she'd come any closer to elucidating the cause. Of course I did. Narasaki pulled the paper out and placed it on the medical record. For starters, it doesn't seem like your condition is physical, she explained, tracing the top line of the results with her finger. Next to it, I saw a number. 1041. According to our test results, your physical health is in perfect order. All your blood values are normal, and you found no drugs in your system. According to the written test you took, it doesn't seem like your intellect is impaired in any way either. And finally, from your reactions to my questions during our conversation, I'd say schizophrenia can also be safely ruled out. Then, what is causing this? It's most likely something psychogenic. I'd guess something along the lines of strong mental trauma or chronic stress. Or perhaps both, she added. I tried to consider both possibilities. I was busy with work, but I didn't have any severe problems. If anything, my company was on the rise. My personal life had grown quite lonely without Takako, but it wasn't to the extent that I'd lost sleep thinking about it. I also couldn't think of any particular stressful or shocking situations I might have been exposed to. Not in my private life, and not at work either. Any ideas? Narasaki asked. I kept thinking for a few moments, then answered in the negative. Narasaki nodded and leaned against her chair. Is something the matter? I imagine it's most likely that you've forgotten the cause. I'm not trying to sound like I know everything about you, but from what you've told me so far, I can't think of a more likely cause than Takako's disappearance. Besides, you told me you couldn't really recall the details surrounding it. So, both the ringing in my ears and hallucinations are caused by that? I'm not sure about the ringings, but it would be natural to assume that your hallucinations of Takako are. I've already thought of that possibility. Takako's disappearance left a deep wound in my heart, and I was chronically exhausted from trying to manage my life and work without her. But I never faced that pain. Instead, I made up another Takako in my mind to distract myself from it. It seems like you were thinking something along those lines yourself. Indeed I was. It was natural for her to assume the same. Still, I wasn't sure why, but I felt that something was off about that train of thought. As I fell silent, Narasaki parted her lips and uttered the brief phrase, "Everything has a reason or a cause," seemingly muttering to herself. I glanced at the medical record in Narasaki's hand. It had a cause and symptoms written down in some sort of diagram-looking thing. You still can't remember anything about how she disappeared? No. To tell the truth, I've tried investigating reports about people who disappeared abroad over the past 2 years, but I couldn't find a single article on your friend. You mean she hasn't disappeared? I don't know. Maybe there was simply no article written. Narasaki paused. I tried remembering my last trip with Takako, but my memories remained shrouded by a thick fog. I can try bringing those memories to the surface through hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy? You mean hypnosis? Like a swaying coin and everything? Yeah. I could use a coin if you insist. Narasaki pulled one of her drawers open and picked up a 5 yen coin from all the change scattered in the pen tray inside. On the pen tray? Pen tray inside it. Oh, I get it. You can do that? The effectiveness varies drastically from person to person, but I've done hypnotherapy before. If Takako's disappearance really is the cause of your hallucinations, we might get a hint that could help with your recovery, provided you remember how it all happened. As I stared at the sizable coin on the desk, Narasaki placed her hand on it. But first, I'd like to confirm that you actually want to get rid of the hallucinations. As I gave Narasaki a puzzled look, she explained that my symptoms were slightly different from all the other patients she had to deal with. What's so different about me? The difference is that your symptoms don't seem to affect your life in any negative way, at least as far as I can tell. What do you mean? What do you think are the main problems with hallucinations? I cocked my head to the side. For example, let's say a patient keeps seeing bugs crawling on the walls, or crazed killers chasing them through the streets. That causes them to get startled, or even start running, even when nothing is really happening. If that keeps happening periodically, well, you can imagine how it might become difficult to lead a normal life. That's what I meant by negative effects. However, in your case, it seems like you've spent at least 2 years leading an ordinary life despite your condition. That's true. Also, not only did you not realize there was something wrong with you for 2 years, but neither did your acquaintances. I don't believe a massive difference in perception such as seeing a person who's not there could go unnoticed for long. As I've explained, hallucinations are false information interpreted by your mind as genuine. When you're looking at Takako, your eyes should be fixed on an empty space. When you hear her speak, you react to sounds that aren't there. Do you think no one would have noticed that for 2 whole years? Especially when you actually have conversations with her. She had a point. Now that I thought about it, my 2 colleagues seemingly showed no signs of finding anything wrong with my behavior. Narasaki regarded me in silence. I realized that Narasaki had not seen me act that way either. And according to her, there were no physical factors that could have caused me to act this way either. From her position, it might even be plausible that I was making all of this up. I'm not lying. I know that. I know you. You're not the kind to make up things like that. Narasaki's expression turned somewhat more mellow. Well, I suppose it's impossible you simply never had any conversations with Takako when the other 2 were present. That can't be true. I have memories of all 4 of us talking. I may have been having conversations with her, but they certainly couldn't have. In that case, perhaps you act normally when you're in front of them, the way you would if you understood that Takako is gone. I don't know. Are you saying my memories are incorrect? Most likely. In your head, there's a delusion that Takako is still with you, and it keeps overriding your real memories. I considered Narasaki's words for a while with my gaze fixed on the floor. Soon enough, I heard her chair creak, which made me raise my face again. So, let me repeat myself. Are you sure you want to get rid of those hallucinations, even though they don't seem to interfere with your normal life? She continued without waiting for my answer. For example, there are people with alleged psychic powers that can see ghosts and auras around people. From the perspective of psychiatry, that's a condition that should be looked at, but from their perspective, it's not something they'd necessarily want to be cured of. That's because neither of those cause severe problems with it during their normal lives. In a way, your situation is similar. Inside you, there seems to exist both the office without Takako that you share with your colleagues, and an alternate one with her that you keep to yourself. Besides, I couldn't find anything physically wrong with you either, so there's also the possibility that this thing might go away on its own eventually. I felt like hiccuping, but I held it in. Still, if there's anything that can cure me, I want to try it. I'd rather not have to worry about suddenly talking about things that don't make sense to my colleagues, and seeing things that no one else does kinda weirds me out. Narasaki broke our gaze as she fell into thought for a few minutes, then looked back at me. Over that time, the pen in her right hand moved between her thumb and index finger, traveling all the way to her pinky in light arcs. Then it returned to its former position the same way, almost like someone has rewound the tape. Well, it's not like everyone sees the same things anyway. I furrowed my brows, unable to understand what Narasaki meant. When I was a kid, I ate 4 dozen eggs every morning to help me get large. And now that I'm grown, Beta Leme has just rated the channel with 4 viewers, so I'm roughly the size of a barge. Hello. You ended your stream. Hentai? No, please. We're all TOS over here. Hello. I was actually wondering if you were gonna still be streaming. Because I was like, ooh, I'm gonna start streaming soon. I wonder if you'd still be live so I can grade you. But it turns out you graded me. We're playing Seabed. Oops. That's auto mode. Which button is it? Which button is it? Save. I'm gonna play with my friend. Okay. We'll just return to title. This is Seabed. It's a game where I still have no idea what's happening. How far are we? Apparently still in the prologue? So it's a hentai? Wait, we're still in the prologue? This is Seabed. It's a visual novel that I thought was old and apparently isn't old by paleontology. And it's got a killer theme song, which is very nice and calming. But also, I have no clue what's going on. All I know is that I thought we were further along in the game, and it turns out we're not even in the game yet. So, there's that. Anyway, where's a picture with both of them? I guess this is a good one. That's not, like, incredibly sus. We've got our 2 main characters, Sachiko and Takako. And we started the game and it was rainy and stormy and we were Takako and Sachiko was next to us. And then we went back in time and we were in middle school. And then we went forward in time and we were in like France or something. Or somewhere like going on a trip. And then it rained. And then we watched the stars. And then this happened. And then we went into a cave. And then all of a sudden we were at like a funeral or something. And there was this lady with red hair and she gave us a business card. And then we met up with her, and we found out that she was actually a psychiatrist. And then we were in an office. And then I don't know. We met Fumi and Inakai, and then we saw Takako again. But then like Takako was gone, and sometimes she was here, and sometimes she wasn't, and it got really confusing. And apparently, Sachiko's like having hallucinations, and she's hallucinating that Takako is still around, but because apparently she disappeared, and we don't know when she disappeared, because Sachiko has like messed up memories, so I have no idea. Also, okay, cool. It looks pretty. It is a very nice game. I don't know, I thought it was an old game. I thought it was a remaster of an old game. But it says it was released in 2017. I thought it was a remake for whatever reason. It's 4:3 aspect ratio, which is kind of bizarre, but yeah, I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea. It's also known as the game that kills my voice, because I have to read everything. Oh, this is probably Narasaki talking. But anyway, supposedly it's some sort of mystery thing, and the game came in like really hard at the beginning, being like, oh, think we were following Kaza. The game came in really hard of being like, yo, we got Takako, and we got Sachiko, and those are our two main characters. And then I looked up like a synopsis or like the game description on Steam, and it was like, yo, we got Sachiko, and we got Narasaki, and who knows, Takako's not important. And I was like, okay. So I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea. Also, they never say who is talking, so it makes it incredibly hard to follow sometimes. Which makes it pain for me trying to do voices. But I think we were here. I furrowed my brows, unable to understand what Narasaki meant. When I was a kid, I told a friend the flowers she drew in arts class, had weird colors, but my friend thought those colors were beautiful. Her flower mainly used rich colors, like red, blue, and purple, but for whatever reason, she used achromatic colors, like brown and gray, to color a few parts of it. It honestly looked pretty creepy to me. But to my friend, who likely possessed a different interpretation of colors, it looked very charming. Narasaki looked around and pointed at a decorative strawberry on her table. A decorative strawberry? For example, we can both agree that this strawberry is red. However, there's no way to tell if the reds you see and I see are the same. There's no way to express such a difference in words, and it causes no misunderstandings either. That's actually pretty funny, because yesterday in Somnium Files, Tokiko was talking about how there's no way that you can describe the color red to someone who has never seen red before. And they're both talking about red. I think you're losing me. Huh? Really? Fade to black. I returned home, took a shower, and ate yesterday's potato salad leftovers for dinner. Ooh, potato salad. I slumped down into the sofa and began watching TV. The news commentator kept babbling on about unrelated things instead of introducing the actual news. I kept absent-mindedly staring at the screen, and I hadn't really paid attention to all the details of what happened and why. I realized I only remembered the opinion of the expert they brought in. I began my search for a less tiring program, and after a bit of flipping through channels, settled on the weather broadcast. I thought about my time in the clinic. Narasaki told me she needed some preparation for the hypnotherapy. So I was sent right home after the explanation of my test results. Give it some thought before our next appointment. According to Narasaki, I'd forgotten the very thing that caused me to hallucinate. Both that and my memory loss was apparently some sort of self-defense mechanism against a mental trauma. Takako's disappearance was so shocking, it made me forget how it even happened. If the hallucinations were simply caused by not having Takako in my life anymore, time could easily resolve the issue. Yeah, I'll just forget about Takako. Who needs her anyway? Still, shock and stress being the cause just didn't sound right to me. Takako was the most important person in my life. I'd do anything if there was a way to make her come back. But neither she nor I could have wished for nonsense like this. What is this, Dragon Ball? As I returned to the clinic, I found Narasaki staring at her notebook. What are you reading? She gave me a glance and said, "It's a record of some of my old patients." As I sat down, Narasaki closed her notebook and stuffed it into a drawer. You said my hallucinations were special, but how do people normally start seeing them? Narasaki answered with an aloof, Many hypotheses exist that pertain to hallucinations, but there's still a lot we don't know. The most accepted one is the dopamine hypothesis. Your nervous cells secrete too much dopamine in the synapses, and it makes the electrical impulses in your brain go haywire, showing you hallucinations. There's another hypothesis that hallucinations occur when your self-awareness drops. When you wake up in the morning, sometimes there's a short period when you don't remember who you are, right? It's something like that, basically. The hypnosis states that you lose the ability to differentiate between things happening in reality and things happening inside your head. Well, those are the most common cases anyway. How do you treat them? In both cases, you've got to do away with the cause first. There are many things that can cause dopamine excess, but in most cases, it's induced by drugs. Most of the time, you can take care of that simply by taking medicine with dopamine antagonists. As for the drop of self-awareness, it's usually the result of stress after a strong mental trauma. Or SMT, Shin Megami Tensei? In that case, you first have to elucidate the concrete cause and solve it for the patient. Sounds pretty complicated. Don't worry about it. Your case is different, and besides, you can leave all the complicated stuff to me. Narasaki gave me a smile. I wonder if determining the cause will also make my hallucinations disappear. Everything has a cause and a reason. We'll start from clarifying those. Everything had a reason. It was something I heard Narasaki say before. Actually, I think I'd heard her say something along those lines multiple times. And I agreed with the idea. I think my symptoms have a reason too. I told Narasaki what I'd been thinking about since last night. I think I've mistaken the date of Takako's disappearance to make sense of why they'd both be in the office at the same time. That has to be it. I'm still not sure why my hallucinations happened in the first place. Even if her disappearance was an incredible shock to me, I doubt I'd want to deceive myself just so I wouldn't have to face it. I just wouldn't do something like that. So I want to remember what really happened and figure this out properly. Narasaki nodded. You might end up remembering something unpleasant, though. I tried imagining what it could possibly be, but nothing came to mind. Putting that aside, though, I was more scared of living my life seeing things that weren't real. If it's related to Takako, I can't allow myself to just forget it. Narasaki picked up the 5 yen coin from the desk. Are you really going to use that? Narasaki made a silent smile as she attached a piece of string to the coin. I'll use hypnosis to bring out memories from your subconsciousness to the surface! What? However, there's no guarantee they'll be real memories. There were cases when a hypnotized patient started talking about being kidnapped by aliens, or their memories from the previous life. The brain has a hard time differentiating between real memories and delusions. So, if something like that happens, what are we gonna do? I'll ask you questions. Then I'll try my best to lead you to the answers we need while you're in an unconscious state. So, it's all up to you, basically? Yep. Now, look at me. You are getting very sleepy. Very sleepy. Just keep your eyes on the... Don't worry, I'm actually pretty good at this. Are you ready, kids? Aye aye, Captain. I can't hear you. I am. Oh... Who lives in the deep repressed part of your mind? Sachiko's memories! I sat down into a cozy armchair, almost lying down. Narasaki came closer and told me to relax. She then told me to watch the coin. As it started to slowly sway, she began to talk. Try remembering that trip. I focused my thoughts on the last trip I had with Takako, but not Akiba's trip. A street paved with stones, brick buildings around me. Takako and I are walking together. A street paved with stones, brick buildings around me. Takako and I are walking together. I felt the nostalgic scent of a town I visited a long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. I was walking behind Takako, who kept looking left and right. I could feel the cool sound of running water as we continued down the stone-paved streets, surrounded by tall stone buildings. At the end of the alley, we found ourselves in a small square at the very center of the old town. There was a giant fountain there. Marble sculptures lined the wall behind the fountain, with all sorts of engravings on its edge. In the center stood the ruler of the seas, Neptune, surrounded on each side by the fertility goddess Ceres and the goddess of health, Salus. Sails. The water flowed from the legs of all three, trickling down to the huge puddle below them like a waterfall. Takako already had 2 coins in her hand. I hope I don't miss. Is it even possible with such a huge target? Just try not to hit anyone like you did at Asakusa. Asakusa? A small square, half of which was taken up by the fountain, was filled with people. A group of workers pulling a cart packed with large boxes, people resting on the stairs, a couple sitting on the stone handrail, seemingly more interested in each other than the fountain, and a group of tourists listening to the explanation of their guide. Takako turned her back to the fountain and tossed the coin backwards. Nothing but net. The coin, painting a beautiful arc against the blue of the sky, plopped into the water, vanishing from sight. Like a... Or a... I don't know. I don't know, I'm trying to make a popping sound. It's not working. A little sploosh. Did I get it in? As I nodded, Takako's face lit up. I go. After taking a handful of pictures in front of the fountain, I grabbed Takako, still reluctant to leave, by the arm and left the square. Where are we going next? As we entered the alley neighboring a gelato shop, Takako placed the camera back into her bag and pulled out the tourist booklet we bought at the airport, spreading the map that she kept inside it. I guess those were flipped. She then checked the compass holder that was attached to her bag. The main attraction today is obviously the cathedral, which is here. And we're here. Which means we got to go there. Takako showed me the map and pointed to the alley to the west. You're interested in churches and cathedrals, right? After checking out this I have no idea who's talking. After checking out this temple and that square, we can cross the river and head for the Grand Cathedral. Oh, I guess that was Takako. Takako pointed at the pictures in the booklet as we walked. I heard a rattling sound from behind the corner next to the shoe store. Whoa! Takako jumped out of the way as a yellow tricycle that suddenly appeared. The hiccup, which decided to not come out after all, was filled with red and pink flowers, creaked as though expressing some sort of discontent, then swiftly disappeared beyond another corner, leaving only a faint fragrance of flowers in its wake. It smells nice, Takako remarked. There were many stores in the arc-shaped alleyway, their display windows filled with a plethora of things, but not plesiosaurs. A wine store had a bunch of wooden boxes with bottles stacked in front of it. The confectionery had 2 transparent bags of colorful beans hanging above its doors. Its orange-tinted display window was packed with 3 rows of various chocolates and candies, shaped in the form of flowers and fruits, and beans. Sachi, let's hurry on to the temple. Takako, who had gotten ahead of me as I briefly halted to look at the candies, came back and clasped my hand. You're not embarrassed to hold hands? Everyone's doing it here. Remember that couple at the fountain? Those 2 were glued to each other. She pulled on my hand. Besides, we already went on a trip together. What's there to be embarrassed about? Takako let out an audible laugh. Ha, ha, ha. As we exited the alleyway, we found ourselves in another square with a fountain. It was surrounded by people who looked like street performers, and souvenir shops that seemed to specialize in wood carvings. Turning to the right, I spotted a huge white pillow. Pillow? Pillar? As we continued down the bustling square while clasping each other's hands, another set of pillars appeared from the shadow of the one we saw from the distance. Whoa, it's huge! The triangle-shaped roof of the temple was supported by 16 big stone pillars. Under it, there was a long entrance with a tall ceiling that was shaped like a cylindrical dome from the outside. It's okay to go inside, right? I want to see how it looks. Takako pulled my hand toward the entrance, nimbly evading the people in the crowd. I looked up at the dome above our heads. Unlike the entrance, there were no pillars supporting it, and I could see the blue sky peeking out from the hole in its center. After admiring that divine-looking pillar of light, we continued toward the morning market that was mentioned in the booklet. There were no big roads that led to it, so we had to use lots of tiny alleyways between buildings. Despite getting lost a few times, we finally found our way to our destination. However, being exhausted by the long trek, we decided to first take a break at a nearby restaurant. What kind of flower do you think that is? Which one? We gazed at the market from under the white parasols lining the restaurant's terrace. There were countless wooden stands next to each other. Every single one sported canvas roofs to protect them from the sun. Their assortment included food, spices, fruits, flowers, and other miscellaneous goods. There's a blue bucket with purple flowers near that stand. I'm not sure what they are. They look kind of like chrysanthemums, though. I wonder if we have them in Japan. Remember that vegetable store from earlier? It was pretty awesome. Who would have thought there'd be so many different species of tomatoes? I wonder if they use different ones for different dishes. As we were discussing the market, the waiter approached us to take our order. You gonna order salad again? Yes. As Takako spoke with the waiter, all while gesturing like a crazy person, I glanced back at the market one more time. It looks like a festival. It's nice to see everyone running back and forth with so much energy. I wonder if it's like that every day. Oh, Takako said that as she finished conveying our orders. Seems like this stage has served a variety of different purposes over the years. At one point it was to view the flowers, and in another period it was used to stage executions. Oh, I told her what was written on the building. I'm over 2 right now. Executions? You know, like flogging. I wonder if the people who came here to pick flowers ever imagined the place would end up like that. or if the people who were flogged here expected this area to eventually become a market. I'm not sure how that matters in any way. Takako shook her head, wolfing down the fruit she bought at the market. Like, try imagining someone in the distant past sitting in the same place as we do. What if that someone imagined there'd be a restaurant here, and the woman sitting there would be thinking about them? Wouldn't that be incredible? It would have been pretty miraculous for them to imagine that some Asian girl would one day be bringing it up to her girlfriend while chewing on fruits. I'm willing to bet it's about as likely as the birth of another universe or something. Really? Or rather, even less likely than that. Takako stuffed a piece of orange in her mouth and closed her eyes. Alright, now I'm thinking about two homosexual aliens from Jupiter having a picnic here after the fall of humanity and thinking about two Asian women eating fruits at a restaurant in this very same place while they themselves snacked on seaweed-filled rice balls. If you skip the homosexual bit and the rice balls, you might even be right. You think it'd be as likely as the birth of a new universe? That would be nice. I hope someone builds a temple for us too if that happens. Yeah, right. I think the possibility of the current gods punishing you for these ideas is a lot higher, actually. What do you know? This is why we need more Takako in the story. Sachiko's just too... to have any fun. We stopped in front of a panini sandwich cart that stood in the middle of a stone bridge across the river. It resembled a giant opened-up umbrella, with gelato, soft drinks, and all sorts of snacks lined up under it. Under it? We bought some panini and drinks, and continued down the road. I still can't get used to how cheap everything is here, Takako remarked as she gobbled down her panini. Her sandwich was shaped like a cream puff with cheese, prosciutto ham, and rucola herbs. Unable to watch Takako try and fit it into her mouth, the store clerk helped her crush the thing into a smaller size. Weird. Just eat it like a normal sandwich? You want a taste? Noticing my stare, Takako offered a bite of her sandwich. I nodded and helped myself to a small portion. The bread had just the right amount of crispiness to it, while the savory smell coming from inside it, combined with the taste of the ham and cheese, resulted in a truly mouth-watering culinary experience. Kinda surprising you can get something this good at that price. The restaurant we had lunch at was pretty cheap too. I wonder if it's their economy. Could be. I answered her as I wolfed the food down. Then I took a sip of the Coke we bought at the same store. We could save money, quit our jobs in Japan, and move here. Takako crossed the river and entered another alleyway. That's one plan for the far future. Then maybe we should move here earlier and run a shop together, like the one we've just been to. You mean a cart? They had flower carts in San Francisco too. Yeah, you see them a lot overseas. I guess it's cheaper than renting out an actual building. I wonder what they do on days with bad weather. With no air conditioning, I doubt business is booming during winter. On top of that, if the wheels of the carts get damaged or something, you can't sell anything until you've got them fixed. Yeah, I wonder how they profit. There's no way to know unless we have the data, but given the amount of them in this town, it can't be that bad. I imagine you can insure the cart too. I see. If you're so curious, how about asking them directly instead of pickuping? I pointed at another cart shop at the road by the river. It seemed to be dealing in women's apparel, and had all sorts of clothes hung up that blocked the view. Still, I could at least spot a female customer talking with a gray-haired, middle-aged clerk. Takako looked at the cart for a while before turning back to me. It'd be cool to travel around the world selling your things, but I'd rather have a proper store so I can design it the way I want. I'm sure that bothers you more than profits. Of course. In either case, we'd have to study the native language here. Yep. Let's do it together, just like we did with English. I wonder if they have any movies in this language. I'm sure they do. The sun peeked out from between the buildings surrounding the alley, making Takako narrow her eyes. The edges of the brown-colored roofs cast many uneven shadows on the road. Ah, that arch looks pretty cute. I followed Takako's fingers to see a grated window with an angel carved into the arch above it. The wall was covered in green ivy, so it gave the impression that the angel was peeking out of a forest. I wonder if some ancient artisan made it. I imagine that's the case. It's kind of cool to have so many old things remain in your town, don't you think? I bet if we moved here, we could also pretend we were living in the Middle Ages. That's all good and fine, but we should think about that after we finish paying off our loan for a 10-story apartment complex built with reinforced concrete. These buildings look like they're made of stone. Could they be, like, 2,000 years old or something? Takako furrowed her brows. Maybe. It makes you think of the Three Little Pigs, doesn't it? I like cozy wooden buildings. Would you prefer to live up north, then? Apparently, the northern region of this place was affected by the architecture of neighboring countries, so they've got a lot of wooden buildings there. It's written in the booklet. Here. Oh, I guess this is Sachiko? I'm confused. Oh, this is Takako. She pointed at the picture of some mountain village. Then you can make homemade panini for me. Sure, but you're making the ham. What? The ham is gonna be homemade too? Takako shrugged. We continued down the road, our shoes clicking against the mosaic-laden pavement. It's that roof, right? Should be, but it doesn't feel like we're getting any closer. We could see the bluish roof of the Grand Cathedral towering above the other buildings in the distance. Long houses with no gaps between them littered the streets, which made it impossible to take a straight path for any one direction. It felt like we kept wandering around in circles for the last 30 minutes without ever getting closer to that roof at all. We lost sight of the roof completely after a bunch of buildings with brown roofs blocked it from view. Siesta time must have begun, considering there were only a few people wandering the streets. The rest were probably taking a break or napping. So what, I guess they're in Spain? I guess? It's really weird, because part of it makes it seem like they're in Greece. But then, they said siesta time. I don't know. Just when I think of, column buildings and domes, I think of Greece. The Parthenon. Although the Parthenon isn't really, it's an open building. The Pantheon, I guess. As I was examining a window with sturdy-looking Venetian shutters, but then say Venetian! A tourist carriage pulled by a horse passed by us. I'll go ask. Wait here. Takako darted after the carriage, disappearing into one of the small alleys. I hurried after her, but by the time I turned the corner, neither Takako nor the carriage were anywhere in sight. I bet she got lost like a dunce. After checking my watch and realizing it had been 5 minutes since Takako disappeared, I decided there was no point in waiting any longer. I continued down the coiling stone road using the roof of the Grand Cathedral as my landmark. I also made sure to check the booklet each time I found a significant-looking Gothic-style building or fountain. The booklet's pages seemed to look darker than before. I looked up and saw that the sun had moved to an angle where the buildings surrounding me almost completely blocked it from sight. I glanced behind me, noticing that both the road I came from and the direction I was heading in were completely devoid of people. I continued down a road full of shops with closed shutters and darkened display windows. We never see Sachiko. She looks different now. Her hair looks lighter. I continued down a road full of shops with closed shutters and darkened display windows. Quickening my pace, I began to draw closer to another corner. However, right before I could make the turn, A person emerged from behind it and bumped into me. Oh, excusey. I'm sorry. You're Japanese? I looked up and saw a long-haired woman with a spirited look in her eyes. Oh, unless this is not, this is the person she bumped into? I don't know. Her gaze traveled from my face to the booklet in my hands. Are you lost? She asked. The back streets are full of twisty turns and dead ends. It's kinda easy to get lost. I can show you the way out if you want. She gave me a friendly look. After I accepted her offer, she introduced herself as Fujisaka Nanae. Nanae? 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 It couldn't just be Nene or something like that, or Nana. No, they do Nanae. She walked a short distance ahead of me, her heels confidently clicking against the stone pavement like it was her very own backyard. You're trying to get to the Grand Cathedral, right? She's probably headed that way too. What if you can't find her there? I'll go back to the hotel. That's probably for the best, yeah. Thanks. You're a lifesaver. Hey, don't sweat it. Also, I'm not a ring candy. Even I was getting a bit anxious walking around on my own. I couldn't spot much anxiety in the confident smile she gave me. Most of the stores and government offices close around this time, and the place turns into a ghost town. In exchange, they stay up late and get up early. Being from Japan, I still don't quite get how their economy can function like that. Fujisaka kept up bringing all sorts of subjects, most likely trying to find something that would help incite a conversation. I suppose the siesta system won't stay around if it starts seriously hindering their economy, though. Yeah. And then all the Japanese will be shocked to hear that on the news. That was a thing to begin with. Yeah, exactly. I kept answering the questions she brought up as we walked. I tried asking a thing or two, or I myself. Fujisaka came from the Kansai region and was a year older than me. You were in kindergarten together? That's pretty incredible. Is it? Didn't you have anyone like that, Miss Fujisaki? I was brought up in a mountain town in the middle of nowhere. I had a few friends like that until middle school, but they all eventually left to live in the cities. Can't blame them for wanting to get out. Fujisaka hiccuped as she continued to lead me ahead. What do you do for a living, Miss Mizuno? I run a design company. Only founded it recently, though. You got your own company? That's pretty incredible. What exactly do design companies do anyway? We design logos for other companies, advertisement posters, packages for all sorts of goods, and so on. We deal in anything as long as it falls into designing and doesn't exceed what our capabilities allow for. Did you come here for a commission too? Not really, I just like traveling. I see. Are you also traveling, Miss Fujisaka? You seem to be used to this area. I came here to buy furniture. You know, like couches, tables, and so on. Do you run a furniture store? Fujisaka shook her head without looking back at me. Nah, I run an inn back home. It's a Western mansion that's been around since before the war, so a lot of our things are old and need to be replaced. That said, we can't afford to replace everything with expensive modern furniture, so I come here once in a while looking for materials to fix some of our old stuff, plus cheaper replacements for the things that are too old to do anything about. Can't you buy those in Japan? You can, but it's expensive. Besides, I also like traveling. Fujisaka, who was slightly taller than me, shot a brief glance my way and continued walking forward. Where's this town of yours in Kansai exactly? It's in Hyogo. Want to come visit us sometime? It's an ancient place, but you seem like the type who likes that kind of stuff. Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. Fujisaki pulled out a notebook from her jeans pocket and wrote down her address and contact information. I don't have a business card. Maybe it's about time I made one. She tore out a page from her notebook and handed it to me. In that case, I might visit you during one of my business trips. Interesting. We continued down a street decorated with flower reliefs, and after passing through another narrow alleyway, found ourselves in front of a huge cathedral. Here we are. The silence that followed us through the long alleyways was instantly dispelled by the clamor of the tourists. This was by far the biggest square I'd seen today, made even more overwhelming by the grand cathedral looming above it. This is the Central Park, said Fujisaka. A sun clock towered in the center of the stone-paved square, with a set of tall stone pillars surrounding it in a cylindrical arrangement. I wonder if your friend is here. I glanced around in all directions one more time, but to no avail. Takako was nowhere in sight. I can't see her anywhere. Let's check out the inside of the cathedral. Fujisaka started towards the giant dome. From up close, the grand cathedral was so overwhelming, it almost felt like it could fall over and crush you. We ascended the stairs, drawing closer to the entrance, supported by 8 cylindrical and 4 rectangular columns. As I passed by them, I suddenly saw a pair of green twintails dance in the air. They disappeared behind the humongous gates. Found her. Just as I was about to hurry after Takako, Fujisaki suddenly stopped. I guess this is goodbye then. I can't go into the cathedral just like this. She placed her palm on one of her sleeveless shoulders. I'd like to thank you somehow later. You're only gonna end up having to go through another adventure to find me. Rather than that, I think you should just enjoy the rest of the trip with your friend. Thank you very much. I didn't know what I would have done without you. No problem. Anyway, you should probably hurry. I thanked Fujisaki and passed through the gates in pursuit of Takako. I took a quick glance behind and saw Fujisaki waving goodbye. If that temple we saw earlier followed a simple is best kind of philosophy, then this one seemed closer to gorgeous is best. Various colorful and fantastical pictures decorated the wall. Everything from the pillars to even the handrails had some sort of carving on them. The pillar of light descending from the ceiling illuminated both the statues of angels as well as the painting of heaven on the walls. Not letting my eyes linger in one spot for too long, I looked around for Takako, finally spotting her ascending the stairs under the huge dictorium. I followed after her, making my way up the spiral staircase. As I reached a veranda on the upper side of the dictorium, I ascended another small set of stairs leading further up. Faces passed, and she's spiral bound. After going up another dark spiral staircase with no windows, I suddenly had to stop and narrow my eyes at the light coming from the outside. The wind blew past my ears as I reached the outside of the dictorium. Opening my eyes, I was met with a vast, rust-colored cityscape stretching before me. I looked down at the Central Park and the various alleyways that Fujisaka and I had traversed earlier. Sachi! As I looked over that breathtaking sight, all the while struggling to hold my hair in place against the fierce wind, I heard Takako's voice from nearby. I was looking for you, Sachi. Takako, her expression colored by surprise, made her way through some people in the narrow passage and approached me. Before she could hug me, I squeezed her cheeks between my palms. And just where did you go? I kinda got disoriented as you rose in that carriage. And then? I spotted this blue bird and started following it. Before I knew it, I was in the square. What are you, Mytle? Did the sight of an ancient town make your brain leap into a fantasy world? I heaved a long How did you know I'd be here? Well, you do love high places. We know each other so well we don't even need words. Also, can you please let go of my cheeks now? I flicked her on the forehead. At least have the common decency to realize when I'm calling you an idiot. Before long, the orange dust completely overtook the blue sky. The town below us seemed to have regained its life, as people slowly began to fill the formerly deserted squares and alleyways. All's well that ends well. Takako scratched her belly. The darkening orange of the setting sun gradually painted the brown walls and tiles a deep hue of red. Although the buildings seemed to be lined up haphazardly below us, creating nothing short of a maze, all their windows were perfectly designed to be on the same height. It felt as though they were forming a giant tree with numerous branches extending across the town. After taking a moment to drink water and compose myself, enjoying the nighttime streets for a while, we returned to the hotel. I drifted off to sleep pretty much the moment I climbed into bed, and ended up having a surprisingly vivid dream. A blonde girl in linen clothes was collecting flowers in her basket, standing in the field that would later become the market square. It all kind of reflected what Takako had said back there. I continued observing her, seemingly being transparent myself. As I approached the girl to get a better look at the contents of her basket, she abruptly looked me straight in the eye, even though she wasn't supposed to see me. In that moment, the flower field disappeared, as though swept away by a hurricane, turning into a field for executions. A man adamant to preach philosophy that contradicted the tenets of the local doctrine was seized by the Inquisition and burned at the stake for refusing to renounce his beliefs. I felt as though his panic eyes had been glaring at me through the flames. The next day, I told Takako about my dream as we moved south on the high-speed railway. She said her dream had aliens instead. She then started describing their countless characteristics and proceeded to never shut up about it. Light from outside made my eyelids flutter open. You awake? Yeah. I pulled Takako's jacket close to my chest. She must have placed it while I slept. Takako, sitting next to me, was gazing at clouds beyond the window. A massive mountain range stretched below them. We're almost home. What time is it? As Takako was looking over the clock, the plane's speakers turned on, making an announcement in English. Takako finally pulled the clock out of her pouch. 8ish. Have you already said it's Japanese time? Of course. I shifted my weight under the jacket and leaned against Takako's shoulder. I'll take another nap, so wake me when we're about to land. Sia. Takako reassured me that she would. The last thing I saw before drifting off to sleep was the plane ticket in her hand. Norasaki welcomed me back with a steaming cup of coffee. Thanks. Rising from the sofa, I took the cup from her hand. Are you feeling okay? I'm fine. The smell of coffee dispelled the final remnants of my drowsy mood. It made the memories I experienced in their hypnosis feel like a distant dream. Takako didn't go missing during our trip to Italy. I recounted the events I experienced and the effects of hypnosis. Narasaki nodded. And it seems like that trip occurred before Inakai joined your company. How do you know? I confirmed the date on the ticket with you. Oh, you can do that? I told you before the procedure, but your subconscious memories usually remain in your head a lot clearer than the ones you're conscious of. If I direct your consciousness properly during the hypnosis, I can learn details you would normally never remember under usual circumstances. Narasaki flipped a few pages of the medical record in her hands, then pulled out a piece of paper stuck between them. For starters, we learned that there is, after all, no proof of Takako working at the company after Inukai was hired. Well, I was the only one saying that anyway. Narasaki drew a line on the paper. Now, there's nothing contradicting Inukai's statement. I suppose so. Narasaki crossed at the part on the timeline where I said Takako had disappeared. But now we've got another problem. When did Takako really disappear? And why did I think I kept traveling with her even after Inukai joined the company? Exactly. I took another sip of the hot coffee. The coffee Narasaki made was always incredibly bitter. When did Takako really disappear? And why did I think I kept traveling with her even after Inukai joined the company? I repeated the question within my still bitter mind. Why the sour face? Narasaki smiled. It's the coffee. Let's call it a day. Narasaki continued as I remained silent. It's my job to think, and you've already used your head quite a bit today. Leave the rest to me and go take a break. Raising my face, I saw that Narasaki wasn't planning to give me any more questions for the time being. Alright. I gave her a reluctant reply. Don't worry, we're getting closer to the truth. It does seem that way. As I fell silent, Narasaki made a troubled face and turned to her desk. She then said she would give me some nutrients for exhaustion, just to be on the safe side. After that, she began filling out the prescription paper. As I absent-mindedly gazed at her do her work, I spotted a piece of string peeking from her pocket. It was the same string she used to hang the 5 yen coin earlier. It was my first time, but hypnosis sure is incredible, isn't it? I had specific clues for the scenery and date this time around, so guiding you to those memories wasn't all that difficult. What do you do when you have no clues? Nothing. It'd be equivalent to trying to look for a book whose title you don't even know in a massive library. Here you go. She handed me the prescription paper. As I asked her about the medicine, she explained that those were just nutrients to compensate for the exhaustion the procedure might have caused me. I entered the drugstore to see a family sitting on the bench, most likely waiting for their medicine to be prepared. I passed by the benches and handed the prescription slip to the clerk. Thank you. Oh, thank you. The female clerk unfolded the paper and gave it a closer look. Do you have any allergies? No. Do you have any questions about how to use the medicine? No. I'll call you when your medicine's ready. Feel free to sit down while you wait. The clerk rose from her seat and disappeared beyond the glass door further behind the counter. I sat down on one of the benches and placed my handbag next to me. The rays of the warm afternoon sun fell on my legs through the drugstore window. The line between shadow and light quivered around the area of my knees. I moved slightly toward the shadowy area. As the bell rang, Amanda entered the store with a prescription slip in hand, prompting the woman I just spoke to return to the counter. I could see two people in white coats walking back and forth between the shelves further beyond the counter. Miss Kasahara? Miss Kasahara Mitsuko? The female clerk called out a name in an emotionless tone. Oh, well that's not what I did at all. The mother of the family sitting at the bench put her newspaper down and walked over to the counter. I was about to pull a paperback from the handbag I had left at my side, but I changed my mind, stopping my hand midway. I stood up and continued to the medicine corner, examining the various labels. For medicinal bath, compresses, nutrients. I was looking through the merchandise, trailing my fingers against the labels as I read them. Brown rice, mixed grain, glutinous rice. They actually had 1 kilogram packs of glutinous rice here. Glutinous rice? Miss Sachiko. Having found what I was looking for, I continued to the counter. Weird. I caught a taxi as I left the drugstore and told the driver the address of my office. It didn't even take 10 minutes to reach my destination. Can I have the receipt, please? After fiddling around with the taximeter, the driver printed out the receipt. I took it from his gloved hand and, after paying the fare, stepped out of the car. I'm back. Sorry for taking so long. I opened the office doors to see Inakai working at his desk. Hello. Inakai gave me a glance. How's the revision going? No issues so far. I glanced at Fumi sitting next to him. She seemed to be really into her work, almost leaning over the desk with her fingers practically on fire as she typed. Her mouth also kept moving ever so slightly, almost like that of a hungry fish. I listened to what she was mumbling to herself. It would be better if I aligned the text right here. The colors in the backgrounds and the layers overlap there, making them too hard to read. Suppose I could look at the situation in the background. It's like she's in a trance. Inakai adjusted his glasses. Who do you think she's talking to? It's not the first time this happens. Considering the way she talks at times like this, I believe she's discussing matters with those sheep sitting on her desk. Inakai directed his emotionless gaze at Fumi. With the sheep? I glanced at her desk, realizing that all the sheep, from the one shelf wearing a tuxedo to all the normal ones around her monitor, were aligned in a way that made it seem like they were observing her work. I believe she goes over the entire process one more time, summarizing the important points by making presentations to them. Then, to avoid too much subjectivity influencing her work, she asks the sheep for opinions, improving her designs according to their feedback. I see. Fumi is prone to making careless mistakes, but she's about 30% more effective in that trance-like state of hers. I see. This has been one complicated project, so I can't exactly blame her for becoming like this. Fumi's hands suddenly froze in place as her eyes darted to Inakai. Her posture remained completely unchanged. Inakai, I need to discuss something after I'm done with this. After that, she returned her eyes to the monitor and resumed work. Then again, it's pretty incredible she's able to do that much in such a short time span. With those words, Inakai picked up his teacup and cleared its content with a single... And with that, another section has been completed. I'm going to take a quick break to rest my voice. I have all this phlegm in my throat, which is not helping. I'm going to get some music going. I found a really nice cover of A Town with an Ocean View from Kiki's Delivery Service. So I'm gonna play that if I can find it. I think it was Katine. Come on, cover. Yeah, Katine. Really nice cover. Piano and melodica. So I'll play this just to not have dead air while I sit here in silence. guess I'll also move over briefly to over here. Oh, Mike is dead, Heart is too. Get rid of the background, because we already have lovely background music already. I think I'm gonna launch. Yeah, okay, I am unmuted. I think I'm gonna launch Genshin. Just, like, make sure I don't cap my resin or something. I got Kooky yesterday, so there's no more pulls. And I'm at 64 pity. So we're looking pretty good. They announced the Yoi rerun, the Kazuha rerun. And the Klee rerun. So I'm hoping that that means the weapon banner leaks I saw were also true. And hopefully that means that we get hopefully that means that we also get the Thundering Pulse Wolf's Gravestone banner as well. Yeah, hopefully that means that we get both of those. Because that could be the Pogger's weapon banner I've been waiting for. Thundering Pulse and Wolf's Gravestone. Ooh, what's wrong with Genshin? What's wrong with everything? A big CPU spike all of a sudden. And then I guess Howl's moving castle. And then afterwards I think I'll maybe play Dry Flower. And I guess I'll take off the glasses too. Oh, I don't know what's going on. All sorts of lag. It's like, no, you got the Elgato and you got Genshin? Not today. Not today, my good sir. And to that I say, why? Why though? Yeah, a ton of Genshin lag. I don't know why. Oh, that's a ton of lag. That's weird. I guess that's enough of a break for me. I was able to do one ley line, but the game was just lagging so much. I have no idea why. We don't normally have that kind of problem, so I don't know why. Even now, it's like something's using, I don't know, because I'm looking at OBS, and it was like CPU like 15%, and I was like, bruh. It like stays constant at like 3%. Why is it at 15? Who knows? And I was like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Literally nothing's changed. There's literally no reason for you to be doing this, OBS. And it just peaked when I said that. It knows. It hears me. Anyway. Back over here, I guess. The glasses back on. Glasses? I can't go out without my glasses. On the weekend, I spent most of the afternoon finishing up my laundry. My workload had halved compared to how things used to be, so I could now use the extra space in the veranda to hang the futon as well. As I began dusting it off, I heard the exact same sound of someone hammering on their futon in the distance. The middle-aged forecaster on TV claimed the weather would remain clear until tomorrow night. As I finished hanging my laundry, I moved to the kitchen and began preparing today's lunch. I hadn't been to the supermarket lately, so all I had in the fridge was Chinese cabbage, some poultry, and onions. I'd brought a fourth cut of the cabbage, and by now only a third of that was left. Okay, hold on 1 second. Something's not right. Something's not right. Okay. Elgato? I guess there's just no game audio right now. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's just no audio. Okay. With no eggs left, I had to give up on making oyakodon. I splashed some water. Ooh, is that what B does? No. Where's hide? Oh, hide is X. Bam. I splashed some water and oil into the frying pan, followed by a few pieces of cabbage, onion, and poultry. As the onions began to lose their shape, I added some leftover udon I found in the freezer. I made lunch from throwing together random things, but it turned out better than I expected. I ate it while watching TV. On my way to do some shopping, I dropped by the library to return the books I borrowed. It was a municipally owned establishment, but probably because of the location, there was barely anyone inside it, despite it being the weekend. Back in the countryside where I grew up, all the libraries would be filled with school children on days like this, to the point you'd have to really struggle to find an empty seat. There seemed to be slightly more people around compared to my previous visit, but it was still nothing compared to what I'd been used to. On the right-hand side from the entrance, a separate space was set up for children. It had a small bookshelf lined with various picture books. They were the same fairy tales I used to read as a child. A story about a penguin traveling around the world in a patch of ice. Another about a cat that loved quizzes. I moved to the side of the entrance, where a bunch of tables were lined up next to a huge set of large windows that made the ideal spot for reading. Not only were all the normal seats empty, there wasn't anyone using the lavish and comfortable-looking sofa either. A poster for the local neighborhood association decorated the right side of one of the bigger shelves, making it visible even from the reading room. As I wandered into the psychology section, I spotted the librarian who printed my card. I made a bow, which, upon noticing me, she returned with a bow of her own. She seemed to be in the middle of arranging books, holding the map of the library in one hand. I was about to pass her when she suddenly addressed me. You're the same person that I made that membership card for the other day, right? Did the books you borrowed prove to be of any help? I didn't expect her to call out to me like that, but after a few moments of startled silence, I answered that they did. To tell you the truth, most of the books from that section are a bit on the old side, but since someone finally borrowed some of them, I could use it as an excuse to order newer editions. After placing the books she'd been holding back onto their respective ledges, she pointed at the shelf where the volumes I borrowed were originally from. It did seem like there were a few more books there than before. Judging from the titles, they were mainly focused on hypnotic therapy and the workings of the brain. Saying that she thought I might be interested, the librarian gave me another bow and left. I spent a few minutes looking over those new books. However, no matter which one I checked, I wasn't able to focus on them. In the end, I left the library without borrowing anything. I ran to the librarian on my way back. As I made a curt bow, she once again returned it with her own. If you ever need to look up anything else, don't hesitate to ask. And with that, we parted ways. Oh, that was a fast chapter. I was gonna end the game when we hit the next chapter, or the next section, but that was really fast. I placed the toothbrush back into its cup, washing out the last remnants of toothpaste from my mouth with some ice-cold tap water. When I returned to the living room, the morning news was on. As I looked outside through the veranda, I saw large, gray clouds blanketing the sky. I snagged a glass from the kitchen cupboard, filled it up with water, then used it to water the plants I kept outside. As it had been a while since it rained, the dry soil absorbed the water right away. The search for the two missing Japanese citizens is still ongoing. Turning my attention to the TV, I noticed the news reporting on a boat accident that happened somewhere in the southern islands. The announcer began describing the event in detail. I picked up the remote control from the table and changed the channel. After finding a channel with the weather forecast, I upped the volume. But what about the lore, Takako? Or Sachiko? What about the information you could be gathering? Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Or, so they said. I pressed my train pass against the ticket gate, and, once the machine successfully recognized it, descended the stairs to the train platform. Only a few people were there this early in the morning. It'd be a while until the place really began to fill up with people, the point where they'd have to delay trains. That, by the way, was quite the common occurrence on Mondays. My train arrived as I was absent-mindedly gazing at the unchanging signboard. I claimed an empty seat near the edge of the car. With nothing else to do, I decided to look through the advertisements inside the train car. One ad posted on the wall advertised coffee, while the others gave the details of some sort of anti-diarrhea medicine. Both were the same as last week. Next up were the posters hanging from the ceiling. I spotted one of the weekly magazines going on about recent news and politics, as well as celebrity life. The two missing Japanese citizens I'd heard about in the news were mentioned too. I hate Mondays. Same here. Two young Garfields in suits sitting a bit farther away from me were having a conversation. I spent all weekend having some much-needed lasagna, and I still have a bunch of unfinished work left over from Friday. Feels like it's going to be ages until my next day off. The train slowly came to a halt, stopping at the direction closest to my office. Even the neon lights beyond the window were starting to go out. It had been a while since I heard the last car go by. Any plans for your vacation? Fumi addressed me as I was typing out a report. Not much. I'll be going back to my parents' house. Inakai joined the conversation. I wasn't asking you. Fumi spoke up with a cheeky tone as her fingers continued tapping away at the keyboard. I see. Inikai let out a faint, snort and returned to his own work. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do that. That's not a snort, that's a... What's a, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm like 70% of the way there and I can't get the sound to come out. Something like that, but with less... I was planning to take a trip to the hot springs this year. Would you like to go together? A trip to the hot springs? I transferred the finished report's data to the printer. Most of the documents from the mountain of papers on my desk were now fully checked, revised, and logged. I think we'll be able to start our vacation early if we continue at this pace. Are you sure it's okay? Inikai was seemingly startled by Fumi's question. Well, we've already cleared our main goals for the end of the year. The rest depends on how soon you can finish the individual tasks you still have left. Awesome. Fumi briskly returned to work with a broad smile on her face. Inikai, too, began typing at a seemingly faster pace. Don't forget to submit the necessary documentation if you decide to make any changes to the date of your vacation. I heard a quick, course, and understood in response. As I glanced at the monitor displaying everyone's vacation details, I suddenly realized that the document had an attendance record tab. I clicked on it. Finding the entry for Mizuno Sachiko, I scrolled down to the records dating back to around a year ago. The last trip I remember taking seemed to be the one where I combined 3 holidays and the last 2 days of paid leave to be able to leave for a whole week. Another thing. Interesting. I clicked the send button and had my email finally transferred to the clients. Laying my hand on the back of my neck, I gave it a light crack. After that, I leaned against the chair with all my weight. I'll be going then. Inikai fixed his necktie and opened the door, his eyes almost completely drained of life. Thank you for your work today. Inikai nodded and left the room. The round clock on the wall indicated it was around midnight. With Inikai gone, the office became emptier. The sound of the lightly pattering rain against the window felt louder than before. It had been continuously raining for the past few days, and even though it momentarily let up around noon earlier today, it resumed again as soon as evening came. I could see the raindrops illuminated by the glow of the office. They came pouring down from the black skies above, only to melt into the darkness below. Fumi suddenly stood up from her chair, walked to the door, and turned to me. I'll go grab a drink. Want me to bring you back something as well? Just a coffee, please. After a nod, Fumi left the room and headed for the vending machine. Once I'd seen her off, I closed my eyes and began to stretch my muscles a bit. I was swallowed by the darkness of my closed eyelids. It felt almost like the only thing that existed outside was the rain itself. At my side of the table, there were silver tableware and a neatly folded napkin adorned with a checked pattern, just like yesterday. Jeez. Fumi returned to the office and violently pulled out one of her drawers. What's wrong? Takako, who sat in the seat right in front of her, observed the whole spectacle. Fumi placed a 100 yen coin on the desk. It won't fit into the vending machine. That happens sometimes, yeah. Takako stood up, picked up the coin from the desk, and gave it a closer look. Oh, that's a pretty old coin. This guy's been around since before I was even born. She shifted her gaze to Fumi. Is that how you appreciate your progenitors, Ignoring Takako, Fumi opened her purse. It was already around before we existed. Yet you denounce it just because it won't fit into one of your fancy vending machines. Hm. I couldn't help but chuckle at Kakugo's characteristically random antics. Is something the matter? Fumi gave me a glance. I blinked, and just like that, Takako, along with everything on her desk, as well as that ancient 100 yen coin, vanished without a trace. It's nothing. Really? Well, here you go then. The canned coffee she handed me was the one I usually bought from our vending machine. Thank you. As I took it off her hands, Fumi walked to her locker and pulled out her jacket. I placed my finger on the still warm can's pull tab, but quickly changed my mind, choosing instead to put it away in my bag. My computer finished shutting down with a low whir. You've already missed the last train. Want me to give you a lift? Fumi turned to me after closing her locker. No need. I'll ride a cab home. Just as I was about to stand up, a sudden onset of dizziness assaulted me, and I leaned against my desk with both hands. Is something wrong? I'm just a little anemic. Fumi considered me for a few moments with her hand on her locker's door before closing it. I'm kind of worried, so I'd rather drive you myself. I'll go get the car from the parking lot, so come down in 2 or 3 minutes if you can. She left the office before I could say anything. Sitting back in my chair, I pressed my palms against my temples. I felt somewhat better afterwards. I don't know whether it's just the fact that I'm reading all of it, or if it's the music and the ambient sound, but this game really puts me to sleep. Like, it really makes me just relax and get sleepy. I then opened my bag and took out the canned coffee from earlier. After locking the office door, I tossed the empty can into the trash bin next to our old vending machine. I left the building about 3 minutes after Fumi. After spotting a smallish car in front of the entrance, I climbed inside and sat down in the front seat. Welcome. I closed the door. Thanks. No problem. Fumi's car was a hatchback type that didn't separate the interior from the trunk, making it more spacious on the inside than one you'd think from a mere glance. Fumi leaned forward in her seat and began adjusting the position of the back mirror, sticking her lips out in a funny way. Where did your glasses go? Don't worry, those are fake anyway. Really? I fastened my seatbelt with a sharp click. As the car in the back mirror passed by, Fumi placed her right elbow on the doorknob to her side and stepped on the gas. You didn't need glasses? I'm wearing contacts, so it's okay. So, you wear fake glasses over your contacts? Yes. I wear fake glasses over my contacts. I had no idea. I chuckled. My sister gave me the frame as a birthday present, but it didn't have lenses. I mean, those things are really expensive, right? But you don't need to wear them just because of that. Fumi tapped the storage compartment in front of me. Makeup's less of a hassle this way. I see. I saw you wearing glasses when you read books. Are you farsighted or something? My eyes are fine. I wear the glasses so they don't get worse, actually. It seemed like people wore glasses for all sorts of reasons. Glasses sure are versatile, aren't they? First, you can have glasses-wearing girls take off their glasses and suddenly become beautiful, or have girls wearing glasses flashing those cute grins, or have girls stealing the protagonist's glasses and putting them on like, haha, got your glasses. That's just way too cute. Also boys with glasses. I really like when their glasses have that suspicious-looking gleam. It's amazing how it can look really good, or just be a joke. I really like how it can fulfill all those abstract needs. Being able to switch up the styles and colors of glasses based on your mood is a lot of fun too. It's actually so much fun. You have those half-room glasses, or the thick frame glasses, everything. It's like you're enjoying all these kinds of glasses at a buffet. I really want Inukai to try some on. Or Fumi to try some on to replace her current glasses. We really need glasses to become a thing in Seabed and start selling them for Seabed Kami. Don't you think we really need to officially give everyone glasses? Fumi pressed the small lever to the left of the wheel. The wipers going up and down in the front window increased in speed. It's raining pretty hard today. The forecast said it'll clear up by tomorrow, but I'm wondering if it really will. The rain had been growing gradually stronger since we left the office. The water running down the windshield looked almost like a waterfall with a new stream blocking our sight, no matter how hard the wipers struggled. A ray of light suddenly pierced the sky. Was that lightning? The sound of thunder reached us around the same time Fumi said that. It seems so. I suppose the rain won't be stopping anytime soon. I narrowed my eyes and peered into the darkened sky, stretching above a few city lights that still endured. Its canvas looked almost like a large wriggling snake. You look tired. For a moment, I almost thought I was back in Narasaki's clinic. It was just Fumi addressing me as I absent-mindedly gazed at the drifting clouds. In my mind's eye, I imagined the two standing next to each other, and chuckled at the thought of how different they were. Did I say something funny? I've heard someone else say the same thing, that's all. Smiling, Fumi responded with, "Well, it's the end of the year." He seemed to have cheered up after hearing me chuckle, but we still couldn't find a common topic to discuss. The raindrops trickling down the windshield, following the exact same route each time, would all be swept away by the wiper. I imagine we won't have to stay this late again anytime soon, at least as far as this year's concerned. Thank God for that. Yeah. You definitely pushed yourself too hard this year. What makes you say that? I saw you spacing out and talking to yourself a lot lately. I was getting a bit worried, to be honest. I was talking to myself? Fumi nodded. Well, you rarely actually spoke, but you seemed deep in thought all of the time. I tensed up, worried she might have noticed my condition. But Fumi added, I think you were talking about work or something. Happens to everyone. That's a bit shocking. I thought I was being careful not to let my exhaustion show. Fumi smiled, her eyes still fixed on the road. You're usually pretty difficult to read, so it'd actually make it easier for me if you were more open. I don't even remember the last time you took a vacation. Makes me wonder if you actually take any time to rest. Though, if you do that, Hinakai will have less work than me. Just saying, she added. But I took a very long vacation a while back. Fumi paused for a second, then went on with well, that was quite a while back, wasn't it? I wonder if I took too many days off. I tried to guide the conversation toward the subject I was most curious about. Fumi shook her head in response. I think you needed them back then. Really? I pressed further, noticing that Fumi was hesitating. It was around the time Miss Takako passed away. See? Fumi's voice lowered to a whisper. When Takako passed away? But I will say, that makes the CG make even less sense. Then it's like Narasaki was at the funeral, she gave her a business card, and now we're like, oh, I'm seeing Takako. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with you. When did Takako disappear again? It's like, bruh. He's 6 feet under. You don't normally show emotions, but back then, everyone could tell you were trying to suppress more than what was healthy. You couldn't do anything. I was so worried. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you through that. I did everything I could not to show my bewilderment as Fumi shook her head. But you returned to normal when you came back from that vacation. You even took care of all the accumulated paperwork at twice the pace. I couldn't spend the rest of my life moping around and crying. Looking out the window, I spotted the closest convenience store to my house. I felt as though a snake had been wriggling inside my head. I could tell it was most likely my blood flow. But I was feeling so sick, I decided not to think too deeply about anything. DK. Takako's dead. It was totally obvious, but somehow it was never brought up, so I just ignored it, because there's no way all of these people would just not say anything. Thanks for the lift. No problem. See you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow. I opened the car's door and rushed to the entrance of my apartment complex in the heavy downpour. Heavy rain? Sean! 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 I heard the sound of a car engine whirring to life behind me. Glancing backwards, I saw Fumi waving goodbye as she stepped on the gas. Once her car had disappeared into the darkness, I boarded the elevator. I pressed my palm against my head. It hurt like hell. As I reached my floor, I took the key holder out of my pocket as I walked down the corridor, then opened my door. I stepped inside and locked the door behind me. Upon entering the bedroom, I threw myself onto the bed, not caring about my still wet clothes. I wasn't planning to get up anymore. I haphazardly pulled the sheet over myself and closed my eyes. Then I repeated the words one more time in my head. Takako's dead. I could hear the sound of the clock somewhere deep within the darkness. Well, that seems like a perfect time to end, doesn't it? And it conveniently gave me a little section end screen as well, so I can feel less bad about this. Save. We will save this over clinic urine plans. Turn the title, yes. And does that bring us into a new chapter yet? No, we're still in Clover Design Office. Philosopher. So we're in discrepancy, now we're in philosopher. Okay. I wonder if the things are gonna change at all. I'll go back. I know I just closed it. But I wonder if the backgrounds are gonna change with the chapters, because you can clearly see here, this is Sachiko falling. And I wonder if the chapter backgrounds are going to change at all. You can clearly see she's with Takako here, but then she's falling. Did we get any new CGs out of that? Interesting, we got this as a CG? Okay. I imagine there's maybe 2 more CGs. I imagine it's 6 chapters long, or 5 chapters long. And each one is like the prologue is gonna end when we get these last 2. Although we do have this, which is a full body of Sachiko. So, I don't know. This last page could maybe just be bonus stuff. So maybe it's only 4 chapters, 5 including prologue. I do not know. Oh, but this game has made me very tired all of a sudden. And what are the tips? We've only gotten 1 tip. Narasaki's Clinic, Room 8. What is this? I'm skipping through this because I'm just kind of skimming things. I'll look at this later, maybe on stream. Okay. I don't know what that turned into. I don't know what this is. This seems like a side story. This might be a side thing on its own. I don't know if this is Tips 1, Narasaki's Clinic, Room 8. I don't know if that's related to the story or if that's something I should be doing later. But anyway, it's not happening today. And then the config is just, yeah, language, message speed. It's all good. So, that's gonna be it. No stream tomorrow. I'm feeling very tired after all that, which is ironic because I slept very good last night. Maybe it's just such a chill game, it puts me to sleep. But anyway. Monday, it's just gonna be like a variety stream. Don't expect it to be at 3:30 or 4 or whenever, like today's. It's gonna be at some random time, because it's gonna be 4th of July. I have a brief, kind of a bare bones outline of what's going to happen there. The main takeaway is Yorishika has a new single coming out earlier that day, so I am going to listen to that. We're gonna listen to that on stream, and then I think the plan is to maybe just do some drawing. I'm gonna draw some emotes. I've got them scoped out. I need to finish making the animated emote, and then we've also got the rest of the emote slots there currently 4. So I've got them planned out. I'm thinking, we already have Pog. We have Kizzy Pog, Musicy Pog, and Zen Pog, so I don't think we really need a Pog emote right now. But we're definitely gonna make another Bjorn emote, probably Bjorn Fallen, and then I'm thinking maybe a raid emote, but I think Bjorn is fine functioning as like an emote to spam during raids. I think that works perfectly fine. So Bjorn Fallen for sure, and past me is gonna help future me when I go back and I look at VODs and I see at the end where I talk about my plans and say which emotes I'm going to draw. So thank you for that, past me. Present and future me really does appreciate that. There doesn't appear to be anyone else streaming right now, and no one else is playing Seabed, because, like, not gonna lie, kind of a dead game? Is it a dead game if it's like a game that's single player and like nobody's ever heard of? Does that make it a dead game? I don't know. But no one's playing Old Man's Journey anyway, so that's an L as well. But thank you once again, Meidoleme, for the raid, and Kaedehara Kazuha for following. Fun times. 2.8 coming out in what? 10 days? July 13th, supposedly, with his rerun in the first half, so that'll be fun. And I guess maybe I'll discuss more of that on Monday, because I plan to do some mix of Genshin, the song, and the art. Maybe like starting off with Genshin, who knows, and transitioning, or ending with Genshin, who knows. I'll have to get that all sorted out. But anyway, I will see you all on Monday. I might go for a nap or something. I do have another video planned for the main channel, but not quite done. And I'm debating, it's another song, so I've been stewing over audio, and I might record the song again. You just get things make it a little cleaner. So who knows? But anyway, even though the stream really kind of ended 7 minutes ago, we're still going. So thank you all for watching. I don't know if I want to look into the tips, because I don't want to spoil anything in terms of like looking up of when I should play them. But for now, I'm gonna hope at some point we get out of the prologue and actually into the main game, because we've had what, 4 streams? So it's been what, 8 hours? 8 hours in and we're in the prologue still? Roughly, maybe 7 hours. 8 might be a bit much. But either way, I will see you on Monday, 4th of July, for some not really 4th of July or fireworks related stream or celebration at all. Let's take these off. So anyway, in the amount of time that I've been stalling, has anyone started their stream? Has anyone else? Please? Please? No. No one has. No one has. So I guess that really is it. Thank you all for watching. The game has decided, you know what, let's go into standby sleep mode. So I guess that's the cue for me saying thank you all for watching, and goodbye?